It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Ken Fanger. I've been working with On Technology Partners for 28 years, and I've had the advantage of being virtual for almost all of that time. So we've gone through lots of different iterations. So let's first talk about, I was asked to make sure that I gave reasonable time to both G Suite and Office 365. I do want to say I use Office 365. I don't use G Suite, but I thought it would be fair to show the comparisons between the Office 365 and G Suite offerings. Um, Obviously, one of the advantages of Office 365 is using the applications most of us know, like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. But G Suite does have comparable versions that are out there. So as we move forward, we are going to focus on Office 365, but do know that there are options. Okay, obviously we all know right now we're all in lockdown. We all have to work remotely. It was funny when I was first asked to do this, I was not expecting this level of concern. But now that we're here, we're finding that more and more people are trying to figure out how to work from home. It's a very different environment if you have not been doing it. It takes a little bit to get used to, and it takes a different mindset to be able to be productive. So before I went into some of the features of Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive, I just wanted to talk about ways to help make sure you and your team can be productive when they're at home. So obviously there are challenges to collaborating, getting together. It's a different experience from in person. So the first thing I want to talk about are some of the big challenges that you will have to overcome as you do this. First of all, how do you share? How do you do the working together and share files? How do you stay connected? It becomes harder and harder the longer we're away from the group to feel we're part of the group. And you want to use ways to make sure you keep that engagement. Also, there's a lot of distractions in your house as you go forward. It can become easy to become distracted. How do you stay focused during this time? And then last is staying connected. How are you able to work with your team? How are you able to feel like you have a team? Right now, I'm sure you're all used to the idea of being able to walk into somebody's office or cubicle and just kind of talk to them about what's happening. How are you able to do that? We'll talk about some of that with Teams and how you can create some of that experience. So I want to give a couple of tips from working for over 30 years as a virtual worker. My first tip is make sure that you found a dedicated space that you call your workspace. It helps to feel like you're moving away from your home and still going to work. The next thing that I think people can forget is take breaks. You don't want to be working constantly for the entire time. Do something to help you disconnect so that you're actually more productive in the time you're spending working. And make sure you let your family know that you are actually working. I know family, especially children, see you at home and they figure, oh, you must be home and available for me. You need to treat it just like you're going to work. The other thing that I do is I try to make a plan for the day. I use what I call the rule of three. I try to have three things that I'm going to achieve. My wife is a big planner. She loves to have long lists. The problem with having really long lists is at the end of the day, you can feel like you haven't accomplished something. By making it a very short list of three things you try to do, you'll be able to feel successful, and feeling success is going to be very important to being able to work from home. You also want to make sure that you find a way to stop working. Pick a time when you're done and you're going to put it aside so that you can spend time with the family. And the last thing I want to do is talk about a little trick that I use. I use laundry. You can use any chore. So laundry takes about 45 minutes to run. So what I'll do is I'll put in a load of laundry and then I'll see how much work I can get done in that time frame. And it kind of auto builds in a way to create breaks in my day. So other things you can do, sweeping, vacuuming, something that gives a break between, and then challenge yourself for some length of time in there. And I wanted to take a quick moment. I thought this was important to share. Let me just bounce over to, whoops. And remember that it's always important to have every day be Hawaiian Shirt Day. So when you're out there, remember to enjoy. Don't get so intense and focused that you forget we still all have to have fun. I just thought that was a neat picture that we should all share today. So I want to take a moment before I go back into the PowerPoint and see if there's any questions on these tips or any other suggestions somebody might have. Any ideas on how to make work more productive that you want to share? Let's go over to here. Okay, well then, yes, Steve, I did have your picture. Okay, I'm going to move on from here and talk about Microsoft Office and what you can do to help use it to stay engaged and connected. So today we're going to talk about two different things. We're going to talk about file sharing and how to be able to work with your files in your groups and your teams. And then we're going to talk about collaboration. So the first thing I want to talk about is OneDrive and SharePoint. I get a lot of questions, what's the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint? And I usually explain it this way. Think of OneDrive as your My Documents or your personal shared folder, depending on how you guys work. And think of SharePoint as that group shared folder. So OneDrive is where you put your files. They're usually your files. I actually use a trick. Let me show you a trick that I do. Oops, that would not be where I want it to be. Here we go. So I actually will attach my documents and my desktop to my OneDrive. That way it actually automatically saves. I know I'm really bad. As you can see, I put a lot of things onto my desktop. I have in the past lost my desktop because I did that. This makes it as a very easy way to keep having your desktop available, and you can get it from multiple places. So I can get to my desktop from my phone, from my tablet, from my computer, or from the web. So let's talk a little bit about how you get into OneDrive and how you can interact with it. So the first thing you need to do to get into OneDrive is, there we go, is you go to office.com and you log in. Once you log in, you'll see all the different apps that are available to you, depending on your level of Office 365. In this case, you would click on OneDrive, and then it'll open up this OneDrive folder. And then from here, and what you'll notice is, I just created this archive folder this morning. You'll notice that the archive folder is also on my desktop or on my computer. So I'm able to have files that will synchronize across all of my platforms. So if you create a folder in the cloud, it will show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder right now and hope this all works, but so I think I just lost that. Let me try making that again. So I just created this folder. My computer's running a little slow. Okay, so there's the folder. Now if I go back to my desktop, whoops, it shows up here. So I can put files into here and they'll show up in the cloud. It lets me be able to synchronize and be able to get access to my documents anywhere in the world at any time. It also protects against losing the documents or destroying. One other nice feature, and we'll see if it works, but you can actually go in and pull up history. So if multiple people have made changes to a document, you can pull up a previous version. So it gives you a way to go back. If you've done a change, if everybody's done a change, it lets you go back and pull up an older version of things you've done. So that is OneDrive. The other thing I wanted to show, and I make sure to mention to everybody, and you'll also notice that the menus change depending on if there's file selected or unselected. So the other thing that's really nice is this sync button, and that'll come back up when we talk about SharePoint in a little bit. But you can click on that sync button, and that's how you sync your OneDrive with whatever computer you want to work on. So if you have a laptop and a desktop like I do and a tablet, you just go in, click on that sync, and it'll automatically synchronize that with the device. There's also an iPhone and an Android app so you can sync to your phone. Any questions that anybody has on OneDrive? I guess I should go back and pull this up. Oh. Any questions? Is anybody using OneDrive at this time?
Yes.
Okay, a couple people.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go on if there's no questions on OneDrive. I'm going to go forward again. There's the OneDrive and the sync function. You'll find that sync function is extremely helpful when you want to get your stuff across multiple folders. I did forget one important thing that I want to share with you about OneDrive. If you notice, there are different little icons next to the files. It is possible, and this is really important if you have a tablet or a small solid-state drive, you can have where anything that looks like a little cloud means that the file is not stored locally. So this is only stored in the cloud, so it doesn't take up space locally. Now, if I need to have that file locally, I can right-click and click on Always Keep on this device. And you'll see it starts to sync, and then it brings a copy down. Now, if you are going somewhere and you're not going to have internet access, you do want to make sure you capture the files that you want before you would go so that you can work on them. Then when you get back and you do have internet, they'll automatically sync up. And then if you're done, you can go in here and you can click on Remove It from Always, which means that in about a week, it'll migrate back up to the cloud. Or if you need to do it immediately, you can click on Free Up Space, and it moves it back to the cloud immediately. So this is a great way to help manage space. If you're low on hard drive space, but you still want to connect to your files, you can use this as a way to do that. You can also see which files are currently being synchronized. Okay, moving on from there, let's go back to, where did my PowerPoint go? There it is. Okay, now we're going to talk about what I think everybody came for. How can we use Teams to collaborate with our team? So the first thing is, how do you get into Teams? How do you find Teams? And you do that again through office.com. You log in, and you'll find the Teams icon right there. If you click on it the first time, it's going to ask you if you want to install onto your Mac or your PC. I would suggest going ahead and doing that. It gives a lot of functionality. And then we're going to talk about three main areas of Teams, and I'm going to actually demonstrate those three. I do have some limitations because I'm not part of Team Neo's direct network, but we will talk over the things that you can do. The first one we're going to talk about is chat and how you can use chat to work with your team. We have been using it for a while, but it's really stepped up now with the coronavirus and my team being restricted from coming together at all. The next thing we talk about is setting up and managing actual teams and how you can use teams to work together as a group. And then we're talking about how to set up meetings, how to use them for impromptu meetings, and how to schedule meetings. Whoops. So let me move over to actual Teams here. So the first thing I want to talk about is using chat. So as you can see, we have lots of different chats going on, and it's very easy to create a chat. And one of the nice things is you do have a Teams app that can come on your phone. So you're able to keep in touch and talk on your phone, which we do all the time. If there's a quick
Hey, Ken.
question. I'm sorry, was there a
Hey, Ken.
Yes?
Yeah, Ken, you're actually not showing your desktop right now.
I'm not showing my desktop? You don't see the Teams new chat right now?
I see you.
What?
I'm not sure if everybody. I'm only seeing you. I'm not sure if that's the same for everybody else. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's strange. Okay. Hopefully everybody. So here's a chat. Okay, it looks like everybody else is seeing my desktop. And here's a great example of being able to see some of the chats right away. So let's say, for example, I want to create a new chat. And I'm going to pick some people in my, I don't want me. I'm going to pick Lucy and Shanti. And Michael. So you can start creating quick chat groups. You can even go and then name the group. To kind of define which group you're working in. And then you can start to send texts and have interactions based off of that. I don't want to create that group right now. But that's as easy and as quickly as it is. You're able to keep in touch and get to your chats from, again, all of your different platforms. So this gives you a quick way to just have those communications, those daily actions that don't count on using email. Because I don't know about you guys, one of my problems is I get so many emails that I have a hard time keeping up with what's coming and what's next. And so a chat is a quick way to get me, especially right now with everything that's happening. Okay, again, you can see those coming up. Any questions quick on chat before we move on to Teams? Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Teams. So Teams are an area for you to set up to be able to share files, do communications, and make a quick group so that you can work together. So I actually have a couple of these that we've created from these events. I'm going to create a new team. So you go down here to join or create a team. And then we're going to, so if there's a team you want to join, you could enter the code here and join the team. And then there are public teams you can go into. So when you create a team, it's going to ask you to either build from scratch or create from an existing group or team. You can use this if you've pre-built teams that you want to replicate, but we're going to build this one from scratch today. So you have three options, and this affects how people can join a team. So you have a private team, which means that you have to invite the people that can join it. It doesn't become visible for people to see, and it's restricted. You can have a public team, which allows you to have people join whenever they want. They just click on one to join. Or you can have an organization-wide team, which gives every person in your organization is a member of the team. So we're going to make a private team, so we have to invite people. So we're going to call this the node team. Node. Okay, I'm going to create this team. So now we've created the team. The next thing you want to do is kind of pick the people that will be in the team. You can also add groups to your team. So in this case, I'm going to pick Lucy, and I'm going to add her. Now, when you pick somebody to join a team, it will send them a notice. I'm not going to send every member of my team a notice for this. But you can also then decide if they're a member or an owner. If they're an owner, they have the right to invite members. They have the right to remove members. They can change security rights on different things within the team. If they're a member, they can only interact within the team. So we'll leave Lucy as a member, and then we're going to close it. So now we've created a general channel to this team. And by default, it gets a post channel, so you can chat with people in the team. And it gives you a SharePoint library. Now this is really valuable as a way to be able to share documents to anybody in the team. Another really nice feature of this is, remember I talked about how we can sync? I'm actually going to show you how this syncs. So what I want to do is, I want to make sure that I show you how, whoops. So you see right now, I have the Great Windsor group attached. Here are the libraries that are currently attached to my system. When I go back over to my teams, where did you go, team? I'm going to click on the sync button. And it's going to go and get ready to sync. Should be done. Of course. There it is. So now this folder has synced up. So if I come down and I grab a file, we're going to grab this hsolve product file, and we're going to just drag it right over to there. Okay, maybe that was too big of a file. Nope. Okay. Now it could take a few seconds for this file to synchronize. But what you will see when this is done, if everything works, the file is going to show up here. And it might take a second or two because I've been having some internet problems as of late. I think it's just because AT&T is always having problems, but it will show up there. Some of the other nice features you can do with this is you can add specific applications. So one of the ones that we like to use is Planner. So I'm not sure why it's... We're going to create a new plan here. Jacks. So now this attached a planner app to my teams so that you can go in here and add tasks. And then you can assign who is responsible for that. And set due dates. And you add the task. So this is a great way to be able to build, and you can add new buckets. You can change the name. So you can add one of these and quickly create an environment for tracking, and it will send out notices. So if you put in here, you have a start date. So let's say I needed to start this. You have the end date, you have a priority, you can put a description. You can even add additional tasks. So there's a series of different applications you can add. OneNote, if you're using OneNote, you can open a PDF. Power BI, if you are using Power BI to do different services. So there's lots of things. You can add additional libraries if you need for some reason. So it quickly creates a team environment that lets you and your team get to the files and help get the management they need. The other thing you can do is, you'll notice we have our node team. You click on the three dots and you can either hide it if it's a team that's done, you don't need it anymore. You can go in here and you can manage your team. So here you see we have our members, and if you invite a guest, you can remove membership. Again, this is a role that an owner can do, but not a member. You can also see if anybody's requested to join the channel, and then you can see if there's channels. So here's our general. If we wanted to add more channels, these might be different tasks within the group that need their own setup. You can do that. And you can make it automatically show up in everybody's channel list. You can then set it up if it goes to everyone or if there's specific people. So if you need to have a specific group, let's say you had a group of board members and you needed to have some of them be on the finance committee, you could create a finance committee under board members as an example. And then it would get its own SharePoint file, its own posting location, and let you do all of that. You can add members. If you don't want to be in the team anymore, you can leave the team right there. You can make edits to the team if you want to change the name, the description, and if it's a private or public team. And down here, I'm going to warn you, be careful with this one. You can delete the team, and it will delete everything. So if you're not looking to delete the team, don't click on it. It will ask you. I understand that everything will be deleted. So make sure if you're deleting that you delete only the teams you don't want anymore for any reason. And all the files you need are removed from it. Okay. So that was a quick overview of how Teams works. Is there any question that anybody has on Teams? Let me go back. Here we go. Go back to the chat and see if there's any questions. Wait, we got a question, sorry. Yes, I will talk about both the free service and how people can join it. So you're able to share files. So here, let me actually show this. What was it? So I can actually go and so I'm going to open this in SharePoint, which will give me a few more options. Then I'm going to show you how you can share these files. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to share this. So you can share these files out with other people. You can share folders out. Come on. Again, my computer is just being temperamental. Okay. So you can share this. So you notice it says that it will only work for people. So we have to go in here. This folder is locked down, but you can change this so that it would be open to let anybody. Or you can define specific people. You can also set it up so that you can just let it be readable. You can even block download so they can only look at it. And then you would apply, and then you could send that out. And only those people can specifically get it. So you can open it up if you have the security set that way to allow anyone to see it, or you can set it up so that only individual people, and they'd have to log in with a Microsoft account. Excuse me. But they can get a free Microsoft account and sign up for one if they don't have one, so that anybody outside your organization can work with and get to documents that you need them to get to. In fact, I'm currently working with BNI, and I use this feature to let people put their weekly presentations into my PowerPoint that I do every week. So it works great. It works in OneDrive and it works in SharePoint. Okay. Common mistakes. One thing you do have to be careful of is if you have multiple Office 365 accounts, you want to make sure you know which one you're logging into. That's a problem that I run into is I have accounts with several of my clients, and I need to make sure when I'm logging in with the right one. And Microsoft, in its infinite wisdom, loves the idea of trying to help you by pre-logging in for you. And sometimes that can be a pain in the butt, so you may have to use an incognito window to log in to get to your files and services on multiple Office 365 accounts. Okay, so that's the basic overview of Teams and some of the ways you can use it. And then I want to take and talk about Calendar. One of the nice things when you actually have the full Office 365 suite and you're using it is that your team synchronizes with your Outlook. So I'm going to come over here, and you'll notice that my team calendar and my Outlook calendar are the same. So I had to be on site for some Cleveland projects. Obviously, I have my presentation today. We have another free presentation for Teams tomorrow. So this and this are synchronized. So if I make a change here, I'm going to show you, it'll show up here. So the first thing I want to talk about is setting up a meeting. So what you can do is you can go over here and you can schedule a meeting. I'm not going to talk too deeply about live events today, but if you do have the full version of Teams, you are able to get to having up to 10,000 observers with up to 250 presenters in a live event. Now you do have to have an E1 or higher license to do that, but it is a neat way if you have a large venue need to be able to allow a lot of people to get in. But we're going to stay here on the schedule the meeting and what you can do with this. So we're going to go in here and we're going to create and we're going to invite again. We're going to invite Lucy so that I don't bother the other team members, but you can put anyone, and you can even invite, actually let Ben. You can add channels. So we have all these different channels. And then that would invite those. You can have locations defined. You can put in an address if this was just a regular meeting, but and then you can put your notes in here. I'm going to take these off for the time being just because I don't want to have them. But we're going to make this for the 3rd, and we're going to make it, because I've got morning things. It helps if you pick the right one. I'm just going to set the time 1:30 to 2 o'clock and then save it. So now you'll notice here is my node meeting all set up. And you'll also notice that if I come back over to this calendar, nope, that's not the right one. This one. You see this node team meeting is shown up here. You can also click on this, make it a Teams meeting, and this should create this join link. So you can just send this link out and allow people to click on it to get into the meeting. Now you do notice that we have a phone number that shows up. That is not part of the default Teams. You do have to pay extra to get the phone number. But if that's a value to have, you can get that. So you can have people have abilities to call in as well as video conference. So by default, you get the video conferencing and audio of your computer. But if you want to have a phone call, you have to pay extra for that. But one of the nice things is you can use your phone to join a Teams meeting, and you do get the video and audio conferencing from your phone if for some reason your laptop or your desktop doesn't support audio or video conferencing. So that is how you're able to create a Teams meeting and be able to share it out for people. And then we are going to go into what I think is a really amazing, neat little feature. And that is this Meet Now. I don't know if this would work. I'm assuming it's not going to, but I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, so you could use this, and we do this all the time. You click on that, and you click on Join, and then it'll let you start to invite other people into this meeting. So this is how we kind of do our personal walk into the office type of meeting, where we want to be a little more engaged with the person, because you're going to get all the features we're going to talk about as far as desktop sharing and all of that stuff. But you can do this that quickly. You just click on Meet Now, invite 1 or 2 people, and you have an impromptu meeting happening. So this is one of the neat ways to create that collaboration and that instant contact that you don't get when you're restricted from being at home. So one great feature, it's right there. Whoops.
So essentially, the next thing he's going to go into here is really talking a little bit about how yeah, nothing like live TV, as he was saying. So one of the next things Ken was going to get into is talking a little bit about how Office 365 is available, just like the G Suite is available to. If you guys happen to have a 501c3 nonprofit, it looks like maybe Ken's back.
Yeah, I apologize. I learned an important lesson right there, which is do not click on Meet Now when you're in a meeting.
Yeah. Okay, Ken, I'm going to give it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Okay, so we're going to not do Meet Now. But like I said, you will find that under your calendar. So this is an important function to be able to do. And once you're in it, you're able to invite people as you go. So I apologize for kicking myself out of my own meeting. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how you actually engage with teams on the interface. And hopefully everybody can see my little bar down here. And we're going to talk about all the important parts of this bar, and we're going to hopefully do it in a way that doesn't kick me out of my own meeting again. So the first two items that you have are really important. Most of you have already used them. One is to turn off your camera and turn on your camera. So if you do decide that you are having a bad hair day, you may not want to be on camera. Or if you want to get engaged, again, the smaller groups, it's nice to see what people are doing. It gives you a sense of connection. That's how you turn on and off your camera. Over here, you can mute your mic. Most of you are muted already. This next one is actually how you can share your desktop. Now, I don't have the authority to do this, but if we were doing it, I could actually have somebody else request to manage my desktop so that they could interact with it once I'm sharing my desktop. And then the next thing you're going to come to are the more actions. This is where you get additional features. So you can go into full screen. You can go in here to manage what devices you're using. So if you do have an external microphone or an external camera, you can go in there and set those settings, how you want to work, what you want. You can move in and out of full screen. And this is a really nice feature. So one of the things that you may not realize is, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is that when you're on camera, people can see everything around you. So if you have a bunch of your plans on a whiteboard behind you and you go into a meeting and it's a public meeting, everybody might be able to see what you're doing. So you want to make sure and use this. If everybody sees me in the little corner, you notice it blurs out the back. I'll minimize that. So you notice right now I'm still in frame, but everything behind me is blurred out. So it's a really quick way to help make sure that you don't have things you don't want seen being seen. And then again, I can undo that. So it's a great way. It also protects if somebody comes into the room, they may not know that they want to be on camera. You also have, depending on if you're in the organization, the ability to actually record the presentation. And that will go to a streaming site that you can then download and distribute as you need. There is this live caption. It is marginally functional. It works a lot like the voice capture that you have on Alexa or Siri, where it tries its best to guess what you're trying to say. So it might be good if you're having a hard time hearing somebody. It might give you another way to see it. So the next thing that all of you probably have done is this brings up this meeting chat. And apparently I vanished. So this lets you be able to see the chat while you're meeting. And this will actually, if it comes up, will show you who's participating. It also lets you go in and mute people. You can also pin certain people to the top. If, again, I was in the organization, I would actually have the ability to mute everybody. So if you're doing a presentation and you want to keep everybody quiet, I cannot unmute you, but I can mute you. And of course, then again, there is the hang up functionality at the end. So when you're done with the meeting, I won't do this either, you can just exit out of the meeting. So those are the basics of Teams. If you do not have a Microsoft account and somebody invites you to a team, it will ask you to sign up for a free Microsoft account, and it'll let you log in and join the team with the free Microsoft account. Obviously, that free account has some limitations, but it does let you be able to share with anyone, very similar to Zoom or any of the other web meeting video conferencing channels. Any questions at this point on, oh, one other thing that I do want to mention, this bar down here will disappear if you click out. And then when you move in here, it should come back. There it goes. Come on. So, oh, it looks like we got a question. Let's see. Yes, you cannot unmute somebody when you mute them. They have to unmute them. So Microsoft seems to think that's a feature. I don't think it's a feature, but it hasn't been changed yet. Any questions on the video chat, video conferencing functionality of Teams outside of unable to unmute people? Okay. Then I am going to come back here and talk about what Microsoft is doing during the coronavirus to try and help people out. First of all, nonprofit is always free. If you have a nonprofit and need help, we can get you all the links. We have documents that can help you figure out how to sign up for the E1 pricing. E1 includes Exchange with email, it includes calendaring, it includes all the online apps, SharePoint, OneDrive. You get a terabyte of OneDrive space, plus Teams and a slew of other applications. The other thing that Microsoft is doing right now for government or non-nonprofits, you can get Teams for free for 6 months. And now that does come with a restricted SharePoint access. I think you get 50 gig of space or something. But it lets you get started. It lets you do all the video conferencing we talked about. Again, it does not come with a phone number. You'd have to pay extra for that. But it lets your team start working immediately in Teams. And just so you know, we do free Teams training every Wednesday. We're going to keep doing it until the end of this crisis. If you come out to our website, you can sign up for it. And it's similar to what we did today, but it just lets people kind of get a chance to learn how to use Teams. And anyone in your region that needs that, we would gladly help with. If anyone would like us to present how Teams works or OneDrive or SharePoint, we are also willing to set up individual presentations. You can reach out to us and arrange that. And one thing that we're doing that we're very excited about is we just got asked last week to work with Cleveland City Council because the governor has said that all city council meetings need to go virtual. So we're actually using Teams and streaming solutions to be able to provide a virtual solution for the city of Cleveland. So if any cities are looking for more information on that, we would gladly
Ken,
like to, yes.
This is Alyssa. I think you've muted yourself.
I've muted myself? Ah, wait a second, let's see. Am I unmuted now?
You're good.
Sorry
Yes.
about that. Let me go back here and... So really quick, I'll do this much faster. So we are giving more free Teams training on Wednesdays, if anybody needs that. We're also willing to do training for the communities. If there's a community that needs training, we would be willing to work with you to provide that for Office 365 and Teams. And then we've just been asked by the city of Cleveland to help them go virtual with their Cleveland City Council meetings, since the governor has required that cities move to a virtual solution and a streaming solution. So if any communities need help with that, we are actually working on that project right now. And I wanted to just let everybody know one last thought. Please be careful what you have on your screen or what you have in your frame. I have been in events where people have some very interesting tabs on their browsers that they may not realize were still open. So be cognizant of what you're showing, because you may not want to show everything that's on your computer. Okay, that is my presentation. I'll go back and see if there's any questions.